Rani. I'm with Source Institute, and we work with the Africa Prize, running the entrepreneurship education side of that. We have a challenge that exists taking projects to commercial scale. When we look in Africa, in particularly, getting manufacturing right, and you can't just import that knowledge because of the different environment. So I was wondering if there's any experience you have that you could share that would help us learn that type of thing better.
Okay, who wants to go first? Professor Lee and Alison? Why don't we go that way and then work this way around?
Well, if I understand your question correctly, you are asking about some problems and challenges in Africa for manufacturing the business.
To learn manufacturing at scale.
At the scale. Since I'm an academician and I'm in the university, I wouldn't. I don't know whether I can give you a correct the answer for your business interest. But I think that I can just speak of Ethiopia. And in Ethiopia, as I said, there's no doubt that we need the manufacturing sector growing badly. And also the government is very much interested in they're attracting the investment from foreign countries. And so there is an opportunity for the government intention and those things. But if I would say what you have to be careful is that the infrastructure and also the human resource availability. For instance, in Ethiopia, you have to expect about at least 5-6 times of blackouts every day. And also, if any manufacturing business requires a good supply of water, that also can be a problem. And so I think the best advice I may be able to give is that I think it is safer to work with the personal local companies.
Alison, do you want to add to that? No? Okay, do you? No?
Back up a lot of what's already been said. Also, it's looking at how, if you're going to bring foreign investment, how you're going to make them feel comfortable in the fact that there are a lot of uncertainties that they're just not used to, and communicating that effectively and being like, look, the environment is completely different. You know, we may not know what's going on all the time, but that's okay, and that's kind of what you have to deal with, and getting investors that are going to be comfortable with that level of risk.
Gentleman there, and then I think we had some hands up right at the back over there.
Good afternoon. My name is James Kinch. I'm a mechanical engineering student at the University of Leeds. Yasmin, so after a very thought-provoking discussion about diversity in the workplace, a lot of what it seemed like you described was sort of top-down enforcement of sort of contradicting sort of your normal confirmation biases and etc. But as a student, I do wonder, would it not be better to instill that kind of constant questioning sort of mentality at a far lower level, sort of even lower than university, perhaps even at secondary school? And how would you suggest we'd go about sort of instilling that sort of like natural curiosity and sort of resistance to falling into your sort of your affinity trap, as it were?
Really good question. I think definitely something that needs to be tackled at both ends. And there's the kind of really young age sort of, you know, what kind of questions are we asking our, you know, daughters and sons, and you know, when they're at school, how are we encouraging them to critique their world, not only just kind of in critical literacy, but when it comes to technical problem solving. It's interesting though, I think at university, the university experience is really different to the workplace, and that was something that shocked me, because I think at uni, everyone like came from relatively similar backgrounds. You know, there was no real difference between me and my mates. But when I got to the workplace. There were different generations of people and then different expectations of the different generations. And then what ended up happening was the guys got really resentful that because of, gender quotas, the chicks were getting jobs and blah, blah. So that was something that really, really upset them. Oh, yeah. So I think in terms of how we inculcate that in younger people, it is ensuring that when we're teaching and when it comes to what is right and what is wrong, allowing space to have an actual discussion rather than people just getting outraged and rather than people kind of being really wedded to whatever viewpoint they have, and teaching people how to have real discussion and debate is, I think, something that is lost. So perhaps something to think about there.
Alison, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think it goes right back to what toys your children play with, to be honest. I mean, the stereotypical concepts start really, really young. And it's very difficult to break. I mean, we just have to keep plugging away. We did a massive research program in South Africa about 10 years ago to work out what support and what characteristics a woman had to have to achieve in the science technology environment. 3 massive research programs. One online, everybody had to give their views. Another one interviewing women as to how they'd succeeded, etc. And another one, companies, male and female. What support did you give to the woman? The ones that succeeded, the ones didn't. In the end, there was no conclusion about how women succeeded, except to say the only ones that succeeded were hardy personalities. That was it. So, I mean, you have to be tough. That's all there is to it. And it's going to be a long, long time before it just comes naturally that, as was said, you're a woman, we'll give her a chance. But my goodness, they remember you if you make a mistake. That stupid woman. And that'll never be forgotten. In fact, can I tell a quick story?
Very quickly, very, very quickly. Go ahead.
I'm going to be in such trouble now. I must apologize to the Institution of Structural Engineers before I start.
I love this.
Yeah, exactly.
In 1970-something, I wanted to write the Institute exam here. And the same evening, I was flying out to New York. So I didn't really want to go to, I'm left-handed. I didn't really want to go to the exam with my parallel rule. I wanted to make sure that they had a parallel rule in the classroom where I was writing the exam. So I phoned the institution. I was like, please can you tell me where I'm writing the exam? Please can you tell me in that drawing office, are there parallel rules or is it a T-square? The secretary of the institution said, we rue the day that we allowed women to come into engineering. I've never heard such poppycock. Well, when I got to the exam, actually it was a place that had T-squares, and so there were 2 women writing. So there was somebody standing in the front with 2 parallel rules because they were worried that both women might be left-handers and need some help. But nobody would have contested a man saying he was left-handed and he wanted a parallel rule. So, okay, that was a long time ago, but it still happens. And we've just got to keep plugging away, that's all.
Okay, very, very quickly, one last question and very short replies. We've got 1 minute. 1 minute for one question and one reply.
All right, my name is Dr. Murray. I was a guest professor at Addis Ababa University under the Engineering Capacity Building Programme. The quality of education up to degree level and so forth was a little bit wavy. The comment I really want to make is the role of professional engineering bodies and the necessity to work on university education and postgraduate training, and the role of professional engineering bodies in that, as expressed under Africa Catalyst, which I advocate if anyone reads. I just wonder if you have any more comments.
I'll just make a really quick comment. So I was born in Sudan and go back to Sudan quite regularly and have links to the universities there. And for whatever reasons, what is taught at the universities has not changed in the last 30 years and potentially has actually, and this is Sudan specifically, has become less relevant, I suppose, to the individual students, and so their capacity to shape the world around them and the solutions they come up with is diminished. And so I believe there's a massive role for academies, as I think Professor Lee talked about, in terms of that knowledge transfer, because what you need is that localized knowledge, but you can only get that localized knowledge if the people there have the sort of the skills to begin with. And whether that's a train-the-trainer model, whether that's bringing people here and training them, there are various ways to go about it. But that's the IP is what's incredibly important.
Okay, thank you very much indeed to Dr. Alison Lawless, Professor Jang Gyu Lee, and to Yasmin Abdul-Majid. Please give them a big round of applause. Thank you very much indeed.